Alrighty, so today I enjoyed definitely a lot of things. Even to start just with the warm up that we did today, that was something that I especially could use a lot in my seventh grade class. I know functions is the first time they see functions is in seventh grade because it wasn't in my curriculum when I was a sixth grade teacher. So having them look and have the plug-in inputs to get outputs to see which one are correct or to look for those patterns would be a good way of just having them do five or six problems to get warmed up and at the same time working with functions. So that I thought was good. I also thought Kristen did a good job with leading her activity, and I thought that it was interesting to see which representations of a function were the best for certain different or for different scenarios. And I thought it was cool how we talked about how sometimes you want to talk about how it's important to maybe look for an exact answer. And if you want an exact answer, well, then maybe the actual formula or function itself is better. Whereas if you just need a quick estimate for something, well, then you can look at a graph and get an answer. And that's something that you don't really often have students thinking that in depth on things like that. Like when would it be good for an exact answer, and when would you be okay with just looking at a graph um, for something else for estimations. So I thought that was good. Okay, another thing, I really liked using the manipulatives that we did in class today. I especially could use the one when we were working on the worksheet with integers. I thought that that was good. I know they get integers in sixth grade and probably a little bit even before sixth grade. It's a seventh grade standard, but at the same time, I think they get it previously, but that is something that maybe just on the first day I could include in my class, and I think it'd be good to help get them thinking, just about how comes when we subtract a negative that it actually turns into an adding problem. And I think that is hard for students to visualize pretty often, why things like that happen with integers. And then they could come up with the rules on them by themselves, and that would be very beneficial. The hands-on equations I thought was really cool how we used the scale, and you had to show like whatever you did to one side of the scale you had to do equally to the other side of the scale. And I thought that is something again that I don't I've never done that with my kids for algebra and solving equations, and that just might help to be the visual that makes more sense as to why it's called balancing an equation, and why whatever you do to one side of the equation you have to do to the other side, as opposed to just saying those things. They can see that and actually get to use materials themselves to do that. Um, the array model, not necessarily with regular numbers, which I think would be good for elementary teachers, but I think using the array models for the algebra like we did today, that would be again something perfect just to show when you're multiplying um, expressions together, how how does that distributive property work. And I know distributive property is something that is definitely something that I noticed is hard for my seventh grade students, and a lot of them just can't fully grasp that concept, and it can be frustrating. So I think again, there's another great visual, hands-on way that could get them actively thinking about it. To answer the questions, I thought it was nice, especially working with different people today, to just hear different inputs and opinions. It's always good to hear different opinions, and when we were talking about the article, we were all pretty much on the same page. I know that's the same grade level, but still, everyone kind of brings in different ideas, and I thought we all kind of thought that using the manipulatives for the middle school article that we read is a good idea and should be implemented to give those visual learners something to just to see and hopefully do better with. Um, how did the experience of working with teachers across grade levels impact your learning of algebra and functions? Um, Today, I was working with, I think it's Fred, and he was just very he teaches eighth grade, so it's cool to see just some different ways how he uses the manipulatives in his classroom, and we were both kind of just talking about how we could adapt or use these things in our rooms. So again, just being able to talk about those things when you don't usually get to, and from different schools, hearing different ideas about how to use the number line, or with integers, and just different things with integers that opened me up to hearing some ideas I haven't heard before. Um, so how did it impact my knowledge of how students learn algebra and functions? Uh, you know, Hearing all of those ideas is just opening me up to seeing how certain grade levels perform different ways, and I think maybe what might work in ninth grade might not work in seventh grade, but at the same time, it's I can take those ideas and I can twist them maybe or tweak them just a little bit to get them to where I want them and how I think they would benefit for my seventh graders. And I don't think I really had any difficulties today. Um, so I guess I'll just mention another good thing. When I was working with Ashley, it was good to when we were working on our collaborative lesson, and that was just something that it's always good to work with someone else, even though she's in my same grade level. She brings totally different ideas that don't come into my head to the table. So that's always well worth discussion for. So no difficulties today. Just I, I I don't see any difficulties. I think it's just great working with other teachers at across different grade levels.